So I'm not gonna lie, a lot to say about this chapter of Fairy Tail, a lot, because this chapter, it gave a lot of exposition to the point where you can make some conclusions, you can make some theories, but at the same time, it also gave us some answers, and it's kind of like, holy shit, honestly, Eileen right now is very central to the plot, very central to Erza's character, very central to the history of everything. Like, Eileen is just a big curveball that I did not expect to be this important to the fairy tale story in general. Like, I just thought, maybe she'll have a connection to Erza, maybe something happened, blah, 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 small story. Didn't expect this shit. Beginning of the chapter, I thought that was Zirconi's the Dragon of Jade. I'm not gonna lie, but upon, further reading, it's like, oh, his name is Belserion. It's just like, he looks so much like Zirconi's the Dragon of Jade. I ain't gonna lie, I was bugging out. I was like, yo, is that Zirconi's, bro? Like, did that fucking creep manage to be around in them times? Was he knocking up boots with Mrs. Eileen? And getting the exposition from the history, like, honestly, this is one of my favorite fairy tale chapters in a while. I love chapters like this that explain the world of, the universe that we're reading or watching or whatever the case may be. And at the same time, it was just really interesting finding out that at this particular point, 400 years ago, obviously we already knew there were dragons, but there was different kinds of dragons in a sense, finding out that in the West, they were kind of less intelligent and they just wanted to devour humans. The people over here with Eileen's people and Ishgar, also known as, later on Magnolia or whatever, they're chill. They actually, for the most part, enjoy being with people and stuff like that. So it's interesting to find out one big thing, that the war was actually started by the good dragons, that they wanted to stop the bad dragons from, devouring humans and shit like that. So that was an interesting tidbit, because I always thought when I heard about the Dragon King Festival, like, yeah, it was just a bunch of savage dragons that just wanted to have a go, and that was how it all started. But to actually find out that it was like, yo, enough is enough. I care about the humans. I want to stop all this shit. And I definitely think that there's going to be more to Belserion once we got further with the chapters, because Eileen was like, yo, there got to be more to it. There's no way you're doing all this shit. And there very well could be no more than what he's saying. Hey, I just really want to protect you. But it's a possibility maybe he had some sort of connection with another relative of Eileen, something along the lines of that. But I definitely think there's probably going to be more to Belserion than just, hey, I just want to protect humans because somebody saved me. It probably goes a lot deeper than that. Now, big question, and Wendy brought up this question, and of course it's going to be explained later on, is if this happened 400 years ago, and Eileen still looks young as ever, still looks bangable, like everybody and their mother will be like, yo, let me tap that fucking Belserion ass. How is that possible? This 400 years ago, she should either be dead or be a really old fucking lady. Now, immediately you gotta assume that she came over to our timeline probably around the same time as the other Dragon Slayers, possibly the same way. Here's where my theory comes in. My theory. Mine. Well, it probably is out there because you know how theories spread or whatever, but this is what, because I haven't checked any comments or anything like that, what I came up with. What if this entire time, up until the Tartarus arc, where all the dragons busted out of everybody's stomach and shit like that, Eileen was inside of Erza, and she just didn't know it this entire time. Maybe because I remember around that chapter, Erza had some sort of pain going on, and I mean, she was beaten to an oblivion and shit like that. All her senses were gone and shit like that. So there's a possibility she wasn't even aware of it, but Eileen been inside Erza this entire time. One thing about this is that it helps in a very, very small way, but it does help to give a little bit credibility, and I know people are going to be angry beyond belief that I'm saying this, back to Erza as a character. And what I mean by that is, in the manga, it's 100% been stated and clarified, the dragons are no joke. They are strong, they are just absolutely out of this world. So you find out Erza's heritage in this chapter, and you gotta think, wait a minute, this bitch could either be a dragon slayer, or potentially half fucking dragon. Like, yeah, a lot of those ass pulls that she got, at the end of the day, think about it. How many people could actually damage the dragons except the dragon slayers in the Eclipse arc? You see what I'm saying? Like, yeah, so if she has any type of dragon in her, whether it be Dragon Slayer, I think more so really having Eileen and kind of being half dragon makes it even more legit. Why she's so fucking strong, why she's monstrously powerful. It makes sense now. I know people aren't going to accept that, and it kind of seems a little bit shoehorned in. I'll agree to a certain extent with that, but ultimately, it does make it a little bit credible. Wow, you know, she's had this in her the entire time. This is why she's able to pull these ass pulls, which, in a sense, the whole theme of friendship is what got them through these fights. not really. You're kind of spreading a false theme there. It's more so that Natsu had this dragon inside of him. Dragon Slayers are a lot stronger than average people. Erza is possibly half dragon, so it's not really your will to fuck your friends that got them there. It's more so the fact that these motherfuckers have these hacks-ass powers inside of them. Another theory of mine is, what if potentially in the wings, whether it be in some sort of portal or something, Eileen has a magic that brought some of the dragons with her? What if this entire time she actually has some dragons waiting in the wings, and that's why she was talking to Wendy like, oh, you little cute dragon slayer, y'all gonna see soon the fact that maybe she can bring some dragons. Maybe, who knows, if she has the same type of magic that made Eclipse possible, and she can open up the floodgates and bring dragons in again. Which, I'm not gonna lie, that dragon portion after the GMG was actually kind of interesting, because a lot of Fairy Tail actually had to struggle. This was actually a legitimate, credible threat. So if she did pull some shit like that and pulled, I don't know, a couple hundred fucking dragons out of her ass, that'd be kind of neat. Like, honestly, this chapter of Fairy Tail, it was exciting. I enjoyed it on a, just an enjoyment level alone. It also added more to the lore of the Fairy Tail world. It did quite a few different things. I know one of the big things that people are going to say is, holy shit, so now Erza is a dragon or dragon slayer. It kind of seems a little bit forced and shoehorned in. I'll agree to that as well, but I do think that this chapter did more good than harm, which Fairy Tail, it does a lot of harm to itself, but I think it did more good in a sense of helping to clear up Erza's character a little bit. Like, all the times that she won these incredibly impossible fights, like, bitch, how do you do that, yo? Like, you must have that good putting on. This is how she did it, because she's actually half dragon, which it could be conceived as a BS thing, but nonetheless, it is what it is. And essentially in this chapter as well, we found out that she was the first Dragon Slayer. She was the one that created it. She is truly the mother of Dragon Slayers. So I'm kind of curious, how did this magic get passed down over time? I mean, essentially that means that she was creating that power before even Acnologia became one. So she's even more ahead of Acnologia in a sense, but at the same time, it also makes me wonder, I guess they never really had an encounter in the past because both of them didn't seem like they were knowledgeable of one another. But also, how was Eileen talking as if she had magic from the future? Because it seemed as though her magic that she's using is unheard of before in the past or in the present. So I'm kind of curious about, maybe she knows time travel magic. Maybe she could go to the past, the future. Maybe she can't really change anything, but she could learn things. I do also think that it was kind of neat to find out that they were losing their side of the war because of idiotic racist dragons that were even on their side. The dragons were like, yo, you're going to war, but essentially I don't want to protect humans. I don't even like humans to begin with, so fuck you, and they kind of turned on them. Kind of reminds me in a very, very, very small way of the racism in Fishman Island between, the fishmen and humans. Also, quick question, why the fuck is Lucy still dry humping Natsu? Like, Hero, we get it. We get it. They're big. They're really, really big. Can you... Also, by the way, the reiteration of all of what we learned to Natsu was kind of unnecessary. We literally could have had one line of, oh, Natsu found out everything, by the way, that we just found out, regarding Eileen and stuff like that. We did not need that extra reiteration of the knowledge that we were getting. It's like if we got told the same exposition twice, but in a smaller version for Natsu. And another big theory, because at the end of the chapter, you see Eileen is turning into a dragon because she obviously didn't have the antibodies to stop her from turning into a dragon. And looking at that look, it looks similar to that poster for Fairy Tail Movie 2, which we still haven't get. I know Fairy Tail Movie 2, Fairy Tail Movie 1 was actually good, but that's neither here nor there. It looks very similar to the Natsu Dragon Eyes look that we had where like he was turning into a dragon and shit like that. So I'm assuming that definitely, I think the movie is going to be kind of canon in a way to the manga, I'm assuming. And Natsu's antibodies are probably going to all be depleted due to END. END is going to fuck all that shit up, and Natsu's going to undergo the same transformation that Eileen went through. Like, what's going on here? You gotta ask as well, because Eileen, why is she looking like a human, like, a normal person, when ultimately she was turning into a dragon? That's something that needs to be addressed as well. Although Acnologia, when he bathed in the blood of dragons and shit like that, he was able to go back and forth, so maybe it's just something that they learned over time, how to revert back to their human appearance. And you also gotta assume, if she just got here, Eileen, assuming she just got here based on being inside of Erza and came out during the Tartarus arc, then she didn't really link up with Zeref that long ago. It probably wasn't that long ago at all that she actually joined up with the Alvarez Empire and stuff like that, so there's something to note as well, assuming all those theories are true. But Let me know what you guys think. First of all, what do you think about this chapter? What do you think about Eileen's backstory? What do you think about Belserion? What do you think about Erza essentially being either a dragon slayer or half dragon herself? Do you think that that explains why Erza's been so hacks throughout the entirety of the series and why she was able to win fights that she just shouldn't have won? Also, do you think that Natsu's going to undergo that same transformation due to END depleting the antibodies that Eileen left inside of him to protect him from turning into a dragon? Any overall thoughts of the chapter? I feel as though this was one of the best, very well written, very interesting chapters of Fairy Tail. Of course, excluding a couple bits, like we don't need to see Natsu and Lucy dry humping. Again, that's neither here nor there. Honestly, I would say that this was almost even a great chapter. I feel as though the lore and everything about it was really nicely done, and I'm really excited to see what goes on from here on out, especially finding out more about Eileen. Eileen is making this manga legit right now, so possibly a 9 out of 10. Yeah, I went there, right? 9 out of 10, deal with it. And your overall thoughts, but thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and stalk my Facebook to get more when the video ends. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.